Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, aka the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week, we got Dre and Logan on from the MMG squad. We got Joe Brancato. I appreciate you being here. And actually, just recently, tonight, we learned that you're in more verticals than just Pride Cleaners. So,
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, your family owns Pride Cleaners, and we'll get into that. You also own a fire and flood restoration company, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So how those two came together, we'll conquer that story too. But I want to start from the very beginning, the upbringing of Joe and how you ended up in business. So let's start from ground zero.
Yeah. So family background, we've always been in the cleaning business. So it started with my grandfather. He owns a commercial linen company. So that's where my dad grew up in that business. Then me and my brother grew up in that business as well. Started at a very young age, going down to the production facility, being around that type of environment. And then we have always kind of stayed around it. So my dad kind of spun off, did his own thing back in 2008. He bought Pride Cleaners out of bankruptcy. And since then, Pride Cleaners has really been all I've known from a work standpoint.
So in 2008, how old were you when your dad purchased it?
Let's see, 2008, I was 14 years old.
Okay. So at 14, did you get right into working with dad and kind of starting to learn what the business looked like?
Yep. Started right there, summer breaks, winter breaks, working in the production facility, working out the stores, kind of entry-level positions to there, just always being around it for that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times that Dre and I, we come from a family business also, and I remember high school being dropped off up at the dealership, and it was a Chevy dealership, and they had all these the signs outside that I had to take down, and I'm terrified of heights, so that was not fun. But it's just like having all this like grunt work to do day over day. That I see some people that get into a family business and they get to start off like right at the top. And I see some people that have to work their way up from the bottom all the way through. So it sounds like, I think a lot of times when somebody starts at a younger age, they get to start off at the very bottom. They get to kind of see the evolution with the company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could vividly remember probably 8 years old being in the production facility. In the commercial side, we would sort dirty napkins that came back from restaurants. So seeing some of the restaurant stuff that came in of some of our favorite restaurants, and then having to deal with sorting all the nasty stuff you see in, I didn't know any better either. So growing up in that type of industry and stuff, I loved the work aspect of it. I love just getting down and getting in there and getting to work. It didn't bother me one bit.
So now Joe only eats at home.
Yeah.
After that, he's like, I'm not eating out.
Yeah.
So from the commercial side to the consumer side, what do you see as the biggest like difference between? I know that the commercial side probably just has. Is it? I don't know the cleaning side.
Yeah. So the commercial side, just to give you kind of a little comparison to it, it's higher volume when dealing with the laundry and amounts of poundage that we produce. So the washing machine for the commercial side is about a 900-pound washer. The washing machines that we deal with on the biggest end for the retail side is 120 pounds. So, and you're dealing with a lot more customers, a lot more individual items. So it's a lot more detail orientated. Whereas the commercial side, you're dealing with a handful of items that you're seeing throughout the day. Napkins, tablecloths, rugs, things like that. So the production side is a lot more high speed. And now on the retail side, it's a lot more slowed down. Pay attention to details. You're getting hundreds of different items that come in there. hundreds of different of makes of items that come in there. So the processes are just completely different through there.
So how is it that I think the first time that we met, we walked through your facility, and I was actually very intrigued with how the process of so many different things works in one location. That, like you said, the amount of different items that you have come through there was actually kind of like mind-blowing to me. I'm like, how do they keep this straight? And it was just like watching it all. I was there for probably 45 minutes or so inside the actual facility, and it's like it just runs as a smooth oiled machine. Like no one's skipping a beat.
Yeah.
So what? I'm assuming when it was bought in 2008, it was not running like that.
No, it was ran like a lot of the other dry cleanings in the industry, where it's very labor intensive. You got your single locations. They're all doing the processing for their individual stores. And that was one of the biggest takeaways that my dad, outside looking in, always noticed that there was a potential to kind of make that business more efficient. Because he knew the commercial side of the background, where that's all you had to be efficient in order to make money in that business. So setting up those factory type settings to where everything flows through seamlessly, he had that knowledge background, and he took that knowledge and he knew he can make an impact in the dry cleaning industry for that.
So when you guys took over in 2008, was it all hubbed out to one master facility?
No, I think they had 6 different facilities at the time.
So how long was that implemented right out the gate, or was that over time?
It was right out of the gate. So he operated the first year how it was while he was finding a property, getting all the plans together, getting the layout. That took some time. So by 2010, though, he had that plant fully operational.
I don't know your dad, but I'm assuming the dude's pretty solid when it comes to understanding the process side of that place.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that took somebody with a mind to him to put that together.
Yeah. It was a very, very well thought out plan. We go to these clean shows every other year, and it's got all the different equipment, all the different manufacturers that go there, and the dry cleaning, coin laundry, and commercial side, it all happens at the same time. So it's all in one facility. So he would go to these commercial conventions thinking he's going to go look at all this new commercial equipment, and he always gravitated towards the dry cleaning equipment. He thought it was just the coolest thing. It was something different, and he always knew he wanted to someday get into the dry cleaning part. He actually had a deal before Pride Cleaners. It was going to be one single location. This guy was retiring, wanted to sell. That deal blew up at the closing table, and ended up working out for the best. Yeah. Because not even a year later, he was actually reading in the paper, and he saw that for the bankruptcy closings, Pride Cleaners was listed as one of them. So he knew right away he had to act quick. I think they closed within 30 days or something crazy like that, to where he was flying up to New York to go and close with it. And then he took over ownership. I think, within 30 or 45 days, he had ownership. So it was a very fast moving thing, but he was prepared for it. He was ready. He knew it was something that he always wanted. And he was excited to get in there and just get started. So he had this vision for a long time, and he made it come to reality and really changed what we know of in the Kansas City area, the dry cleaning market.
How many items a day did you guys do when you guys bought it, and how many do you do now?
I'm not sure how many they were doing before, because there was 53 locations. So it was a nationwide owned company. They operated under Pride Cleaners here, but my dad noticed right away he had about 15 of the locations were losing money, and 28 of them were profitable. So that was one of the stipulations. He said, I'm only buying 28, close those other ones down. So right then and there, he knew the numbers. I don't know exactly how many piece count, but today we're doing about 10,000 pieces a day through the facility.
Just a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, I'll have them piece some video in here or something, but like going through your facility, it's cool watching it. Like, and it's probably something to you.
It's a lot of moving parts.
It is. And it's probably something to you that is just the norm now. You've seen it your whole entire life. That I I see that somebody like your dad saw a different way to do a business, that saw a more efficient way, saw a more effective way, saw a more process-oriented way that has now changed the vertical, I think, around here 100%. That I think in the dry cleaning space too, is there a ton of competition in what you guys are doing?
No. The competition, especially after COVID, I think they put out numbers. It was 30-something% of dry cleaners closed from the beginning of COVID till now. So we're seeing a lot of mom and pop shops closed up, and a lot of it to it as well is it doesn't mean they weren't successful, but in this industry, there's a lot of people too that don't have a succession plan. So those people, they can't find a buyer right now because nobody wants to come into the industry. They were kind of struggling to make ends meet, but really the business did what they needed it to. They have no one else to pass it up on or pass it on to, and they decided to close the doors.
Yeah, makes sense. And that's where I think in every different vertical of business, I think economic movement, people have to keep an eye on. And I think we talk about it all the time, about playing that 6 moves ahead of yourself and understanding what the future holds and understanding that you have to be ready for something that comes that you don't see. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of business owners that play today and today only, and COVID knocks them right off their feet. Mm-hmm. And then you see some businesses that went into COVID that saw other places to leverage. They saw an opportunity to open new doors and figure out different ways to do it. And you guys, was that when you guys implemented the delivery service and the door side, or was that already rolling?
So we started to get into the delivery side we bought a cleaners in November of 2019. So right before COVID. And this
couldn't have timed that better.
Yeah. So this was
knew it was coming.
This was a deal that we
insider
made.
trading shit taking place over
No
here.
way. It ended up being it was a bad deal because this company predominantly it was my way of, just to kind of backtrack a little bit. They had routes previously. Pride Cleaners did back in 2010. So they ran some routes. My dad always wanted to grow it. He threw a bunch of money at it, tried to market it. MMG wasn't around at the time, obviously. So,
in 2010, I think I was probably finishing like 10th grade.
Yeah. So he tried a bunch of different things. It wasn't working. There was a competitor that he ended up selling it off to because that's what they predominantly focused on. So since that time, we really didn't have any routes. And since that one failed, we were really kind of hesitant to get back into doing it. We knew what it would take to kind of start from the ground up. So I was like, I'm going to start looking for competitors, see who wants to get out, and maybe we can just try with the small route, and then that'll get our feet wet to see how we're going to do that.
Is this a derby, bro?
For real, that's new.
You get on your golf cart.
Yeah.
Go chase him
I
down.
don't think you're catching him.
Yeah. So we bought the small route. They focused on downtown home and office delivery, not a lot of residential. So in 2019, get that all set up, get it all rocking and rolling. Mm-hmm. COVID hits. Work from home is enforced. That business, not that it was gone. There were still some consistent like uniform places that we had to go to, some of the companies that were deemed a necessity that we could still service. So it wasn't completely, gone, but it definitely took a hit. But it also opened up our eyes to what we were experiencing on the retail side when COVID happened. When COVID happened, we dropped 80% across the boards. Things we couldn't change, though, is all of our overhead expenses. So rent, have to have an employee out at the store, no matter we take in one piece or 100 pieces that day. There's got to be someone there to help service the customer. Production, that's a variable expense because depends on how many pieces we had in is how many we are doing. And then our route was also a variable expense. All I had was that vehicle. So if we didn't have a big enough route, I just parked the vehicle. So it really kind of light bulb went off in our head like, okay, this is actually a good thing. It was awful timing.
Yeah.
And it's not fun right now, but when things are back to normal after COVID, this is kind of how we're going to navigate some of our overhead expenses and get it to more variable costs with it being the route, and get a little bit more flexible rather than having to be in all these high-end retail spots. Kind of switch to being mobile to get to the customers and offer a better service.
And I think that's something that, once again, when we first met, I saw really quickly that your guys' main focus is the customer experience, is the customer service. And that is something that we look for in clients when we want those people to market, that it's a two-way street when we go work with people, that most of the time the marketing vertical, everyone's always looked at as like, we're just a vendor and like we're just going to take on anybody that comes our way.
Yeah.
But it's like, at the end of the day, to have great marketing, you have to have great product or great service. You can have the worst product in the world. You come to us, I'm going to tell you MMG can't help you. I don't care how great that anyone says we are, how great we think we are, whatever it is. If you have a shitty product or shitty service, that will trump however great your marketing is. To where it's like, I saw that you guys were forward thinking in a lot of the different things that you were doing. And I will say that COVID, a lot of people look at as all the negatives that came with COVID. I think COVID opened up a doorway to a higher level of customer service. People in today's world are all about convenience. I mean, Amazon is the test of all of it. Yeah. Amazon now, if I'm at work, I can order something. If I think it's something at 10, I can order and it'll be here at 3 o'clock. I don't even have to waste diesel fuel anymore to drive by a place to grab it. And it sucks that we're in that world, but it's like the customer convenience now that you can have your laundry done. You guys come pick it up. You guys go do it, and you guys drop it back off. I was talking earlier, I was riding around my golf cart, and I was passing houses that have all their Pride Cleaner stuff hanging up on it. That's like, that level of what you guys are doing is changing the game.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just going to continue to happen. And when you are on that forefront, it's hard because not everyone sees it immediately. It is a huge marketing feat. It is something that like people have to know that that's an option for them. So with the delivery side, what does the evolution kind of look like from COVID? You parked the vehicle. Now it's kind of opening back up. What does that look like? Is it more commercial side? Are you getting a lot of the residential side?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a mixture of both. I personally enjoy the commercial side, going back to where people are work. I love seeing that people are getting back to the office. I like that that's one stop and we're able to service 20 different customers. The door-to-door is a little bit tougher to be efficient, but we're making it work. So with us buying that smaller route, we made it through COVID. And then last October, we acquired another dry cleaners, and that's predominantly what they did. They did home and office delivery. So instead of for us trying to compete with them, going in, trying to get market share in that industry, they were ready to retire and call it quits. And we had a great relationship with them and easy acquisition. And now we're fully into, we run 6 home and office delivery routes. They each do about 120 stops a day.
A lot of stops.
So
here soon you're going to see a whole fleet of those Rivians that run around. Like, is that Amazon? No, it's practically.
Yeah. It definitely has a lot of challenges, though, because it's something that has not been perfected yet in the dry cleaning side of things, because everyone still has that old mindset of, being a retail spot, clean the stuff right behind the counter. They can't get out of that mindset. So even technology, things that we need to be able to service these customers out on the road and keep track of everything in that facility, the technology has to get up to date with it as well.
Yeah.
And it's moving at a quick pace. So, I think we're going to be there sooner than later. We have a mobile app now, so we're getting somewhere.
And that is something that in a lot of different industries, you see that the technology side is so far behind. And I think sometimes it's hard for people on the tech side to come into a space when there's a bunch of people in the space that don't want to learn it.
Yeah.
That they don't want to accept it yet. That you have to become so accepting of change all the time that we look at it as 4 years ago when we got into marketing to what it is now is nowhere close to the same vertical. It changes monthly for us, but it's like just being capable of taking that change all the time. There's some people like, oh, I'm going to keep doing it this way. I'm like, you're just going to get ran over. Like, and that's where getting up with having a mobile app now, having that tracking side, which I don't even want to know what goes into all that. Like, I'm glad I don't take on that feed every day.
Yeah.
I don't have 10,000 pieces of clothes moving across my desk by any means. So it's with that, you guys also, I think in the dry cleaning space, most people think of suits. They just think suits like, I mean, that was me growing up. I just thought like, I saw my dad put a suit on and go to work a lot of times. So I remember dry cleaners, like he used dry cleaner all the time, and it was like, that's what they did. And what all other things do you guys do? Like, because I know there's like a million different things going on that even when I came to the facility the first time, I was like, oh, they do a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't think that the normal person knows that.
Yeah. So we do wash and fold now. That's been a new up and coming service that we've been doing. It's really been taken off for that. Very convenient. Household items. We do rugs. We do leather and fur. We do alterations. We do wedding gown preservation for that. It's really, really tough for me. I want to do it all.
Yeah.
I want to do everything. And we threw out some ideas, and it's hard to be the guy that can do everything. So we kind of just fit our mold with doing the suits, the shirts. Wash and fold fits really well in our production.
So what all goes into wash and fold?
Wash and fold, just your any day laundry. So your t-shirts, shorts, socks, underwear, things like that.
People out there, guys out there that don't like doing laundry, we're cutting this real. If you don't want to do your laundry anymore, get some wash and fold.
Yeah. It'll change your life. It's the most convenient thing ever. The girls that have fold now, the greatest folders in the world. Vacuum seal it tight. It's great.
Right.
It's
And
great.
you can pick it up from their house.
Yeah. Yep. Pick it
World's
up from the
best
house
product.
and we deliver it back next delivery day.
So I think there's a large percent of the population that doesn't know that's even an option.
Yep.
That it's, once again, I think you guys are moving at a very rapid pace of all the different verticals that you have. And like we talk about it all the time in like a marketing forefront, that the hardest thing to do is with a company when they say we want it all. That they're like, we want to spend this money, but we're going to divvy it out over all these different things. Then it makes it to where you have 10 different things and none of them actually really work. To where it's like, to make all of it work, you need to kind of hone in on where that big winner is, deep dive after that, and then start breaking into the different verticals. So I think dry cleaning out the bat is the biggest one of just the suit side. That's kind of your guys' like hub, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What do you got going on over there?
It's not them. It's,
No, it's Dalton. But so you guys and Pride Cleaners, then you start your fire and flood restoration side
Yep.
or business and as your side hustle, right?
Yeah, it's side hustle. Yeah. Yeah, so that happened right at the beginning of COVID as well. Through that.
Great timing on that too. You were like, you know what? 2019 big acquisition.
That was the year of opportunities. You got to take advantage of them. No, so I mean that was another thing that we looked at when discussing what other items can we do. You know, during COVID on the dry cleaning side, we actually started a route just by, I think we were posting on Facebook. We sent out emails to customers, and we said, we'll come and pick up your area rugs at your home. We didn't have anything to set up route coordinating or anything like that. I had some equipment to clean rugs. I had a guy that would clean the rugs, and I knew I had to go out and just get the business. Had employees looking at me and like, okay, what do we do now? I'm like, all right, give me an hour. I'll come back.
We're gonna clean
We'll
some roads
figure
here.
this out.
We're gonna see how many people respond to my emails. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, we were doing anything just to keep things going, to keep people on the payroll, so we didn't have to lay anybody off, and to keep our name out there to still do some business. And it worked. It got us by for a little bit, but it wasn't our.
It's a good thing you didn't reach out to MMG at that point because we didn't really know what we were doing that well at that point.
Well, we knew it wasn't our key model, setting up that. So I stumbled upon, before COVID, I was actually looking into getting into fire restoration for textiles. So all the clothing that you had in your house. There's some franchises out there. I looked at one in the Kansas City area. The deal kind of never came to the table or anything like that. So I passed up on that one. And then with COVID, another deal came to the table, and COVID really pushed me to go and do it. So it's a franchise called CRDN. We go to homes that have had a fire or flood, and we remove all their clothing that were affected by it. We clean it, get it back to its restored shape, and then we store it for them as well until their house is built, and we can deliver it back to them.
And you have a small facility that holds all this to storage, right?
Yeah, small facility now. So we were at the time, though, we were operating out of a 5,000 square foot storage facility, but it was a perfect blend with the dry cleaning. I had a production plant that we were only running for 3 hours a day. All this equipment that was just sitting there vacant, and it was a way for us to go out and get the business and fill that void of all the piece count we were missing with being down 80%.
Was there an increase in like fires and things like that at that time because everyone was at home all the time?
I can't comment on that. No.
I feel like there had to have been or something. I'm like,
it's bad. We talk about it all the time. If we see like a big fire on the TV, me and my brother are always like, "Oh yeah, we might have a job out of that." It's like, it's kind of bad to say. Maybe we should.
It is
kind of not
in a
celebrate
way.
on that.
But it's also like something I see as, it's just a great business mind to look at something saying like, hey, we have this over here, then we have all this equipment that the average Joe doesn't have.
Yeah.
That's like, how do we now bring all that and how do we leverage it into another space?
Yeah.
And you guys can leverage that because you have all this stuff. And it's like the perfect way to kind of partner the two. I think a lot of people sit in like one space of business and they never look at all the kind of outlines that they can capture and be that much better than the next person.
Yeah.
Because how does someone now compete with you in that space?
Yeah.
Like I look at it from the clothing side. No one's going to be able to compete with you guys on what you do on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that you guys can own that space like that.
Yeah.
Towards,
Yeah. No one's got the facility in that space to keep up with the volume that we get. So it was really just, it's perfect. And it helped us get through COVID as well. You know, I was able to keep employees on staff, keep the equipment moving, having some money come in. So it really just helped fill that void because that was a necessity.
Yeah.
You know, when that happens, you know, things like the economy can't really take that business away. So it really opened our eyes to kind of hedge in a sense of getting in to diversify ourselves, get some other business in there. And it's worked out so far. It's been a great 3 years.
So is that something that you and your dad talked about, you and your brother talked about? Because I look at when you go out to say you're going to hedge the economy on what it's going to do. Mm-hmm. Most people aren't even thinking about that. Mm-hmm. Most people were thinking, I mean, why did they have to give stimulus checks? Because people don't think outside of a month of their life. Mm-hmm. They look at how they make their payments this month. They're not thinking about what next month brings. Mm-hmm. Towards literally that happens and everyone gets laid off. The government's like, literally the only way we keep America afloat is giving everyone these checks. Mm-hmm. So it's like you go out and you say, hey, we're opening this to make sure that we're hedging the economy on some other line that isn't, it can't be taken away. Mm-hmm. So was that a conversation? Like, what did that conversation look like between you and your brother, your dad, or how?
My dad gave us all the support in the world. He just wanted no part of it. He was like, I've already been through that with starting up a company. He was like, now it's your turn. So, I mean, a lot of support with it. He thought it was a great idea. You know, he was there to help out. And then my brother too. We were both eager, young, and looking to get into something like that. So it was all good timing in that sense.
So when you go into something like that, I look at with our company, I'm going to say we've had a golden ticket opportunity that a lot of everyone has a story. A lot of people are like, I came from nothing. I did X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to say that we had that upbringing. Our dad did very well. We've been very fortunate. We've worked really, really hard for what we have. But our dad is a wealth of knowledge to help us move from stepping stone to stepping stone on things that we should do, things that we shouldn't do. Am I always the best at listening? Absolutely not. So
No, he'll be like, I wouldn't recommend that. And he's like, I'm gonna try it. Then he's like, that didn't pan out. It's like, really?
yeah, he gets a lot of "I told you so" moments. But on that, what expertise when you and your brother go open up a company and I think it's cool too when you're like, oh, I'm gonna start a side hustle. Now you have all these employees and it's like booming. Mm-hmm. But it's like, what expertise did you look for from your dad while doing that?
He told me about all of his mistakes. So that's one of the greatest thing. He constantly talks about, everyone that comes in and sees the facility, they look at his success. I look at it, everything he's done has been a success. And he always tells me, it wasn't always like that. I didn't just get this success. And, he teaches me about some of the failures too and what to look out for. And that, in a sense, is making me money right off the bat because I didn't have to go through those expensive mistakes that he learned. So really, anytime he's talking to me, anytime he's giving me advice, I'm all ears, trying to take it all in and trying to learn from his success and his failures at the same time.
Yeah, I think that speaks volumes of your dad, where, once again, we talk about it all the time as a company with the people that come on the podcast, that most people just look at the success side of everything. Mm-hmm. That there's a lot of really successful business owners. And the one thing you're going to find out with every successful business owner you talk to is they had a lot of failures to get to where they're at. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I try to focus on the most when I sit with business owners is I like the successes that they had, but the failures I can hear that they've made move us forward faster than anything else. Mm-hmm. That we have a lot of big business owners that are around us that your dad, for instance, those failures that he made can save you 10 years of your life by not running down that same pathway. Mm-hmm. That they can streamline some of those curves for you and make it a faster process for you to get from B to C because he told you not to do.
Oh, it's given me a huge head start.
Yeah. So, and I think I can see that too in just the way that you operate, that I see a different operator than a lot of companies. And it's really hard being that next generation, that I think that there's a lot of weight that holds that next generation operator in a family business.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we haven't hit on that I was going to ask about is like, how was that? So we kind of jumped from, okay, you guys took over the business or bought the business in 2008. You were really young then. And then we kind of jumped to COVID. What did like the in-between look like for you? Did you always want to work in the business? Like, was that just the way it was? Did you go to college? Like, what was your progression like to get to the point that you're at now?
So I was very aware early on the amount of work, sacrifice, and effort that my dad went through to get that company turned around and get it started. And even prior to that, prior to Pride, he's always instilled within us a good work ethic. And no matter what you do, just make sure you give it your best, no matter how cliche that kind of sounds. But, it's been the truth. He hasn't been hard on us at all. But he's like, but if you're going to come and do something and come into this business, you better learn it and you better know it and want to do it. So for us, that was kind of always known and understood. So I continued. I still went to college, went to University of Missouri for business finance. And throughout college, I was trying to figure out, do I want to do something else? Really, all I know is working in production facilities and cleaning dirty clothes. So that's all I really knew. And I'm like, do I want to get into this? Do I want to get into that? And nothing really drew my passion or anything like that. So right after college, I knew that I was going to be going back into the family business. And it wasn't oh man, I got to go back work for the family business. I mean, I was excited to get into there. And then that's when I realized my passion really wasn't about cleaning dirty clothes. And that wasn't my dad's passion either. It was just the business aspect of it, the problem solving, that taking something from nothing and growing it into this business and operating machine and having employees that are also benefiting it as well and creating this culture. Because that's everything my dad did from 2008 on, was create a culture, turn that business around, and put a lot of structure into it. So I was aware of it early on. I didn't realize until after college that that's really what I was looking for. It's just that passion. I kept on just focusing on, man, I don't want to clean dirty clothes. I'm tired of sorting through napkins and stuff like that. I'm like, it's not about that. It's the business. I don't care what you're doing. And as long as you dedicate your time and efforts to try to be successful, good things will start to happen.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. And to Logan's point, when you got out of school, what did that transition phase look like into the business?
Yeah, so I went and worked for my grandfather. I didn't go straight into Pride. I worked for my grandfather because at the time they were needing some help there. That business was growing as well. Pride it's already gone through its kind of rebranding phase. Things were kind of smooth over there. So I was working for XL Linen over there. And then it came to the time where I think it was in 2017. 2017 was my dad was producing some cleaning for a competitor that had a fire. And they had a fire at their location. They couldn't process any of their clothes. So they called my dad, said, hey, will you process our clothes until we can get the plant back in shape and operating? My dad said, yeah, no problem. I think we had 150 pieces of theirs in every single day. So my dad was like, we didn't even notice it was in here. And that kind of triggered a light bulb in his head. He was like, oh shit, what happens if we go down? What happens if a tornado comes through or a fire or something? Who's going to back us up? We're out of business.
Everyone's going to be wearing wrinkly clothes. What happened in KC?
So at that time, he got right on it, and he started a second operating plant. It was about a third of the size of our current one that we had. And they were getting that going, and we were moving 13 stores out of that facility. And at the time he was saying, we need to get employees. I was down there helping install equipment. He wanted me to understand that process of how much equipment goes into an operating facility, between purchasing it, the layout of all of it, the plumbing, everything. He wanted me to know every square inch of it. So I was involved in that part. And then he was starting to look for a production manager for the building. And that's when I told him, I said, we don't need a production manager. I'll run it. So I said, I'll get it staffed. I'll run it for a while. And that's when I left XL, moved back over to Pride, and got that plant up and running I ran it for 2 years.
Do you guys still have that one?
We still have it. It's vacant right now since COVID. So we haven't gotten to capacity yet to open that one back up.
Gotcha.
But we still have it fully equipped and all that.
Nice.
So when you get out of college, I see a lot of similarity in the way that you operate to myself. And in the beginning, I thought marketing was I was hunting for something that I had this passion about, that I didn't know my passion was business. Mm-hmm. The actual processes, the operations of it, how do you elevate people? How do you build culture? How do you do all these different things? Those are the bigger needles that you're moving forward. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't understand that they get so. You could sit in there obsessed every single day with the way that a single shirt is cleaned. Mm-hmm. You could just obsess over that, and you're going to find a day where you could have the most perfectly iron shirt on the planet. But if you can't put employees in there to elevate that and do more shirts and more pieces of clothing, and you can't figure out how the communication works between the drivers that are going to pick it up, and how the communication level works to the people cleaning it, to then packaging it, to then getting it back out, none of it works.
Yep.
And it's I started figuring out those are the bigger problems on the overall scale that are trying to be figured out. Mm-hmm. And most of the time people even think of that problem and they just turn the other way. Mm-hmm. I don't know, that seems kind of hard to figure out. I don't want to figure that out, because it takes a lot of brain power to actually go think about that, because there's not some book that you open up that's there's the answer.
Yeah.
And I tell them all the time, dude, if you guys find a book that gives me the outline of how to do this, I will be happy to read it. But you don't know what's coming at you every day. You don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, and that's what I fell in love with. Racing together.
The neighborhood's getting hood over here. But no, I think
that's exactly what I fell in love with right there.
Yeah,
was that part of it, the kind of unknown, the problem solving. Not every day is the same in my lifestyle. So,
and I think that's the fun of it. I think it's fun not having every day the same. I think that when you get to where every single day is the same, you're not finding the progression side. The progression comes in the unknown area.
yeah,
And it's what can you do today to become more efficient? What new opportunities are out there? That we've had a lot of people on the podcast that I'm going to say some of the highest level thinkers that I've been around, they see opportunities different. That like something I focus on all the time is how do I see more opportunities? How am I in a position ever where I'm in a different area than you, but you end up in a niched fire and flood vertical that it's like there's an opportunity there that you saw something different.
yeah,
The way your brain worked puts you in a different position to lead you to where you're at now.
mm,
But how many people would have been in that same position that were terrified because they have no earthly idea what that space looks like?
yeah,
They don't know what it's like working with insurance companies.
Yeah.
They don't know what all those different variables are in that equation and how that works out.
Well, I'm thinking all the different variables, and during COVID, down 80%. It's like, is this the right time to do it? But
Tom, is that you out there, dude? I love it. This is a first, actually.
But you just hop into that sector. It's like you're gonna figure it out. It's
Yeah.
not if it's gonna work. It's like it has to work.
yeah,
So I think that mindset going into it of it's gonna work.
yeah,
I think a lot of people jump into sectors and they're like, I'll test it out, and I assume the first 3 months it's like, hey, make it work,
yeah.
as long as the numbers are right.
Well, I was tired of hearing the COVID excuse. So it's almost like everything that was going wrong, they're like, oh, well, that's because COVID.
Yeah,
because
it was just an easy way to justify
Yeah.
not having to like focus on problems and do actual problem solving and the hard work. For something
exactly.
like that.
So that's when I started. I was like, I'm tired of hearing about COVID and it's down because of COVID. It is what it is. This is the position that we're in. So let's try to pivot and make the most of what we got right now.
Yeah.
Things have changed and they changed quickly. Nobody saw this coming. So let's get after it.
People look for every opportunity of excuse that they can find. Like right now, I was talking to somebody this last week, and they told me that we are in the worst. As we
Dude, I think we
That's-
need to start throwing sticks out.
pretty inconvenienced during the podcast, but I sat with someone last week, and he told me we're in the biggest recession of our lifetime right now. And like, we work with 100+ companies that are all on the highest points that they've been at in a long time.
Yeah.
That I'm like,
In multiple different sectors.
yeah, I'm talking. We have restaurants, we have insurance agents, we have gun companies, we have knife companies, we have car dealerships, we have car washes. You name it, we got it. And they're like, yeah, dude, we're biggest. Like, and this dude's business is flopping. It's like him and like 3 other people. And he's like, well, it's really just because we're in this big recession right now.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? I was
Some
like,
people have been in a recession for 20 years.
I've been in a recession
Still
a
waiting
lot.
for it in.
It's I mean, whatever you think about and you like perceive, you can speak stuff into existence. I'm a firm believer in that, and it's the same way with your thoughts. Like if you believe that this is going to fail, or this isn't the right time to do something, you're not going to succeed at it. Yeah. It's all about the mindset of it. And to your point, Dane, looking for the opportunity. A lot of people are looking for the way out. They're looking for the excuse, the reason that they can blame that prevents them from having to go through the hard stuff and do the hard work. Whereas if you're looking at the opportunity, it just pushes you right through that even faster.
Well, we've seen with companies that they saw the largest growth and open more locations, and more locations, more problems. Like everyone understands that, or I think. And then this was 2 years ago. They create their own recession in their mind, back down, lower their business and everything. They're like, man, we just got to prep for what's coming.
Yeah.
And they've been talking about that for what?
Oh, wow.
COVID was what, a 2-week curve? Some people were still waiting for that 2-week curve to finish.
Yeah.
But we look at, and I also think I'm not going to say everyone has the mindset that we have. We're positioned with the right people. We speak with the right people. We're very disciplined about who we share our thoughts with, things like that. But we have business owners on here that there were more millionaires made at 08 to 2012 than any other time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's literally just the mindset of one person saw as an opportunity, another person saw as a downfall.
Yep. And I owe it all to my father. I mean, he wasn't only in the industrial cleaning business. He always had his side things going on. He had a self-storage unit. He had a auction company at one point. So he was always getting into other things, equipment company that was tailored to the commercial side. So he always had that entrepreneurial, side to him that he kind of instilled in us. So that's what's always kind of, I owe it to him for that, because with that always kept my mind going. I'm always trying to one up what he's done. He's taken this company to a whole nother level, and now that he's kind of given me the reins to run the day-to-day stuff and put more responsibilities on my plate, I'm always looking and aware, because I want to take it to a completely different level as well. So,
and I think when you grow up and you have someone like that we watched our dad take risks all the time. That it was like just the norm of what we watched.
Yeah.
It was like we watched him run into things just full speed, but it's like we saw that he was the operator that did that.
We were also very fortunate, us at a young age. He brought us along to a lot of the meetings.
So we said, we got to sit in these meetings. We got to see this high level.
I've been in bank meetings and stuff at 15 years old. I mean,
But you started seeing, you understood a different level of money too, I think.
Yeah.
I think you saw how I'm not even going to say we saw the highest level, that there's probably somebody out there. Donald Trump's son, when Barron's going in somewhere, he's getting to see a whole different level of money. I'm not going to say we saw that, but it's like you see that when you're at a bank and they're doing these huge notes on what they're needing to loan, what they're needing to collateralize, how they're needing to do it, how they're needing to get to that next spot, how they're risking it all. Like, you just saw that as the norm of how it moved business. But then you saw the lows that led to the high.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think after you start seeing that, and you start seeing just that consistent press to market, that if you kept working and you kept doing the right thing, there was light at the end of the tunnel each time. And watching that, just the evolution of that for our dad, we got to see that to where it's like, when I run into something, I'm like, it's going to be fine. I've watched it my whole life. It's always been fun.
We'll figure it out. There's a light somewhere.
Yeah.
The tunnel may be a little longer than we expected, but there's a light somewhere over there.
Well, that's cool for you guys. I mean, you started a company from scratch. I walked into a successful company. So with that, I kind of held a little bit of almost like guilt, because I didn't go through the troubles of the upbringing, but I understood it and I was aware of it. So with that, I made sure I was working harder than anybody else. But for you guys, you still went through the struggles of starting from the ground up.
I'm going to say I was, I thought I was a lot more prepared than I was.
Yeah.
When I stepped out, I'm like, I got this.
Why doesn't everyone have a company?
Yeah. Huge learning experience.
Yeah.
And I think in the beginning, I wasn't really great at asking for help. I wasn't great at looking to those people around me to help me get to the next step. I wanted to be the one that did it all by myself.
Yep.
And it took me a long time to kind of get through that rut, that for this to go to where this is supposed to go, it wasn't going to be just me.
Yeah.
It took the people around me to move it. And I think after I started realizing that, and I started looking for mentors to help me not make those just continuous mistakes every single day. And I started avoiding mistakes, and I started getting better at moving market, and it was just game changer. And I look at it now as if I was to execute going into another company, or building something else, I could do it 10 times faster. And that's where you still have your fire and flood side, that's something you've started from ground zero, right?
Mm-hmm.
To where it's like you're seeing that employment, the communication complexity.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think sometimes people get into this company that may have 200 employees, that those processes have been built out, how HR communicates within to the companies, how the payroll works with employees, how all these different things kind of are already plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the beginning I was like, that stuff just happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we're progressing, I'm like, oh, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how to plug those things
Yeah.
in. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we don't have somebody for that. We got to figure that out. Like,
Yeah.
so it just every single day I know I'm getting up to take on a new fight.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know I'm supposed to be in that arena to take on that fight. And I don't know what fight it's even going to be yet.
Yeah.
But it's just something new comes every single day. We need more people. We always need more people. It's need A players. How do you market to get A players? How do you position yourself to where people want to work for you? How do you build that culture? How do you do all these different things that it's like so many people are, I feel like one dimensional when it comes to business, that you have to be 3-dimensional on everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
From every aspect of all of it. That, like I said, your guys' accounting department's probably crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how many accounts you guys probably have. Like, in a B2C space, I don't know how that works.
Oh, the systems are all pretty good.
Yeah, but
It's not too complicated.
no, it's not too complicated.
Yeah.
I've lived in it since I was 14, so it's not too bad.
We
This is
got
what I
some
went
good
to school
systems
for.
in place.
Yeah, but it's like you look at those like systems that have to be put in place, and those weren't just always plugged in.
Correct.
And it's like we saw in the evolution of the car business, like coming from ground zero, and kind of watched the development of that.
Mm.
To where I think it's cool that you watched and you paid attention to those things that your dad was doing, and you've learned how to leverage those correctly. And it's put you, I think that the second generation comes up and they either start 20 moves ahead of the next person or they start 10 moves behind.
Yeah.
Like from the starting point where there's the one second generational owner that comes up and they're like, okay, I saw parents do X, Y, and Z. I know not to make all these mistakes. I know these are the things that have worked so far. This is where I start. Then there's this other side that they're like, I'm owed this, blah, blah, blah. And they're 10 spots behind starting point.
Yeah.
And they actually will just run businesses into the ground.
Yeah, my dad always says too. He was like, I didn't get to where I am today by myself. He was like, the number one thing is make sure you surround yourself with people that are more knowledgeable than you.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. You know, you hear it all the time, but that's the truth. And that's how you're able to get those practices in place, get the best knowledge, and get a good operating company.
Yeah. It's crazy when you start surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you, that I thought about what was something I could learn that I could get so good at, that I could get it to where higher level people that are way smarter than me would want to be around me.
Yeah.
I was like, they all need marketing. I was like, if I become really knowledgeable at marketing, I can then give them something to benefit them. That I never look for something from them. But it started putting me at the right tables that I could get around people that were a lot more knowledgeable. And it's
that's a good point.
It was something that I could then give them.
Yeah.
That I've always looked at like how I give to others, that my success will always come secondary to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I just position it that way, if I can make all the people sitting around me 10 times more successful in whatever they're doing, I don't care how mine pans out, it'll work out just fine.
Yeah.
So it was like, that was something I thought of for a long time, was like, how do I just bring value to those people around me?
Yeah.
And after I just started focusing on how do I give value points that I never asked for anything, I just give to those people, it changed the networking side so quickly.
Yeah.
But where do you see Pride Cleaners going, and the fire and flood side going over the next 5 years?
And any other side gigs you're into.
Yeah.
You got
Who
any other
knows
side
what other
hustles?
ones
Like,
I'm
I just
gonna
have
do.
like 40 people over here that do this, but just side hustle.
I see a lot of growth potential in both sides of the companies as they move forward. I think technology is going to play a huge part in this industry. I think it's coming quicker than people think. I'm still kind of waiting for next kind of home run idea to kind of help change the industry, but I'm always looking out for that. So the next 5 years, we got good market share. We're making some really good moves right now. My main goal of what I've tried to focus on, especially starting this year, was I kind of get bogged down in the day-to-day stuff and the day-to-day grind, and I kind of lose focus of the overall picture. So I'm really trying to pull myself out of that, make strategic decisions rather than impulse decisions on that, and really just analyze the market, what we're doing, because the industry is constantly changing, and just try to make the best decisions moving forward.
Yeah. I think you guys are definitely doing that. And there's a lot of people we work with that I have a very high level of respect for. And you're one of those people that, I mean, right out the gate, had that respect on just the way that you operated, the way that you walked around your facility with the people, the staff. I could see a two-way respect line.
Well, I appreciate that.
And that is a rare thing to see. That there's people I see walk around and I can tell real quickly that respect does not go both ways. And it was that there I knew right out the gate that you guys had something different, that I knew that you were operating different, but if you stay the course of what you guys are doing and you're just staying in front of the next guy, like all the success is yours that you want.
Yeah.
So I think doing the delivery route, I think keeping an eye on the customer experience is huge. And having that eye on the big picture is how you always win. And getting lost in the day-to-day is really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like having that discipline to say, though, like, as your job is to make sure that grander vision is happening, that it's working for everyone inside those walls. And I think you guys are right on path where you're supposed to be.
Well, I appreciate that.
So, end of the podcast, I always come back to the same question. And I don't know, we've had a couple people on that recently that were really young that I could ask a question to. But if you go back to your 21-year-old self and tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
Oh.
It's always the most loaded one, too.
Yeah. I would say be patient and put the work in. Because I think, especially in the day that we live in now, we're kind of want that immediate satisfaction with no matter what we do. So just knowing that if you put the work in, stay dedicated to something, and then if you be patient, your time will come and you'll be prepared for it. So I think that would be my advice to my younger self.
I think that's a great word of advice. And we live by it all day, every day. It's don't play today's play tomorrow's play.
Yeah.
And it's doing what needs to be done today and just trusting the process, trusting that work that you're putting in every day is going to lead to the greater vision of exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I think you had a lot of great insights on this podcast. I know this is your first podcast.
Yeah.
But I think you've definitely knocked it out of the park.
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
But any final thoughts, Dre, Logan?
No. It's a cool story.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. We will plug all of Pride Cleaners links below. So if you're needing anything with Pride Cleaners, also we will plug your flood and fire company below too. I'll have to send over links for that.
Yeah.
So if you have a fire, you have a flood, this is your dude. give him a call.
Yeah.
But once again,
And if you want to try out the wash and fold, it's 20% off for the rest of April. So
That's
gotta
right.
get that in
That's
there.
right. Yeah.
so yeah. Also, guys, I'm telling you earlier, you want to wash and fold.
Yeah.
Use a code WF20.
Best service ever made
Yeah.
to date.
Here, I'll throw in one more offer. If you mention this podcast, I'll give you your first order wash and fold free. So give it a try.
Looks like I'm
Just
using
mention,
it.
just mention the podcast. We'll give you your first order free.
All right, perfect. Once again, thank you again for being on. That's the M3 Podcast. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.